makes the sound of speech. And so here we see the size of the windpipe, the trachea, and this becomes important in terms of speech because our knowledge about the influence of the size of the trachea, of the windpipe for speech, is from patients who had an endotracheal tube in place, and then they developed scarring after that. And so as a result of the scarring, we know what is the point at how much scarring in your windpipe will prevent you from speaking. And so these are just the dimensions, so as you know what is the size of the normal trachea. It's between a quarter and a dime, as you can see here, in terms of the diameters.
And then next slide, Brett.
And here is when those coins have been shrunk to 15%. And even when the trachea has narrowed all the way down to 15%, you are still able to speak. Even when the hole through your windpipe is just this size, as I've shown here, where I've shrunk the size of the coins, you are still able to speak. So it tells you how dangerous it is to think, well, if he can speak, he's doing okay, because at this point, you will be able to speak. But again, if there is a small increase in the amount of narrowing here, not only will you not be able to speak, you won't be able to breathe, you won't be able to live. And so it's a very dangerous thing to think that because you're able to speak, you're doing okay.
And so, doctor, you're not able to speak, breathe, or live once the airway narrows to below 15%.
Correct. Once you go from the 15%, you'll still be able to speak, and then as it gets lower from that, initially you'll be struggling, and then at some stage you just won't be able to do anything.
Brett, if we could show exhibit 940, it's already invented.
So again, this is exactly, because this is the same experiment I showed you before.
A song by Paul Beckman.
And it just so happens, this is pure coincidence.
The song
it's at 85%. You're looking at that top curve, and that's the same number that we showed you on the MRI.
George
this is pure
Floyd
coincidence. But you can see here, once you're up at 85%, that the work of breathing is enormous. It's 7.5-fold increase. And then as that narrowing would get further and further, then the work will become unbearable.
Using guitar chords E, A, and D.
So again, it just emphasizes at the point where you can't speak.
Derick killed George Floyd with his knee on his neck.
Transition now from talking about the physiology of breathing.
He wouldn't let up.
Talk about the work as a clinician taking care of patients with respiratory problems. Does that experience
people in the crowd were saying, "Get your knee off of his neck. You're killing him."
Did you do anything?
He didn't even listen to them.
Try to understand
He's a killer and a murderer.
Yes, I did.
Killer and a murderer and policeman.
Because a major part of
What you doing, being a policeman? If you don't even know how to listen to passers-by who are watching the whole thing and telling you get your knee off of his neck, you're killing him. What kind of inhuman human are you? What was him? What was he? What are you? Now you're in court awaiting trial for your killing, for your murder of an innocent man. For sure, put your knee on his neck for a long 10 minutes or so. And everyone knows you wouldn't listen. You were too stubborn. You wanted to kill that man, and you certainly did. You murderer. Derick is a killer. Derick is a murderer and policeman. Wow, hey, cool policeman. You shouldn't have done it. You should have listened to everyone talking to you, trying to save his life. What business do you have wearing a uniform? Well, I sure hope you won't wear it no more. I hope you'll be fired from your job and even pay for the murder and killing of George Floyd that you did. Put him in prison for his whole life. Whoa, yeah. Or even worse, who knows? Whatever the justice system deems to be for you. Killer, 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 policeman. Killer, 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 policeman.
Play this, doctor.
Yeah, the expert here just showed what happens to the trachea. Well, the more it's limited and it becomes smaller because it can't get breath.
So if you focus down,
Pretty soon it can't
where
speak.
his ankles,
Well,
where his arm is
you're probably filled with a
and you can count down
lesser bill. You probably thought in your conceptual mind he's not speaking. Well, he can speak. If he can speak, he's fine. But even if he can speak, it's been limited 15% or more. It's on the verge of hardly being able to speak at all. You just kept your knee on his neck until his life was spent. You bad, 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 bad man, yeah. Derick's a killer. Derick's a murderer. Derick's a policeman, yeah. Well, we don't want any more policemen like you wearing that uniform. Got that?
5, 6, 7, 8.
So that was roughly a 17-second clip,
Right?
and you counted 7 or 8 breaths.
Between 7 and 8. Yeah.
And did you use this to calculate a rate of respiration?
Yes, because I mean it's simple. Once you have 19 seconds and you count out the number of breaths you have here, and if it say you count out 7 breaths, that will come out at a respiratory rate of 22.
Is that number, the respiratory rate of 22, significant to this case?
It's extremely significant.
Why is that?
Because one of the things in this case is the question of fentanyl. And if fentanyl is having an effect and is causing depression of the respiratory centers, the centers that control breathing, that's going to result in a